Hello, everyone, and welcome to Rainmakers Roundup. I am your host, Mark Iorio. I've got with me today Rick Kasper. Rick is the president and owner of 101 Mobility. Rick, great to have you on the program. Welcome to
Yeah.
RVN Television.
Thank you, Mark. Good to be here.
Yeah, it's
Appreciate
good.
it.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Yeah,
Hey,
you
Rick,
too.
tell us about this mobility business where you're helping folks um, basically mobilize that are in a difficult time of their lives in a lot of ways.
Right.
Amazing business to me. You change the lives of a lot of people. Talk to us a little bit about 101 Mobility and what you guys do, and
Sure.
maybe a little bit about how you're different from others.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
So 101 Mobility is we help people age in place, is what I like to say. People have lived in their houses for decades. They don't want to move. They've made friends with their neighbors. They've got a good church. They've got a good network of people that they rely on and trust. And it's much easier for them to stay in their own home. Nobody wants to go to a nursing home. You've heard that
Yep.
in almost every industry. Nobody wants to give up and go to a nursing home.
Yeah.
But stay at home. 101 Mobility helps people with that because we don't just offer one solution. We don't just have a stair lift. We'll have a rental program for stair lifts, short-term solution. We might be able to help a family in a crisis with a rent-to-own stair lift. Same thing with a ramp, an outdoor vertical platform lift that can attach to the porch or deck. Overhead lift in a bedroom helps somebody get from the bed to the bathroom or their chair and become a productive member of society. So we don't just offer one solution. We've got a national footprint, but we're very local when it comes to helping families.
It's you think about the way you described that, even the way in which you get out of bed in the morning, and some people are immobile. They can't do that. They can't get
Correct.
from the bed to their bathroom.
Sure.
They can't get from the
Yeah.
bed to another part of their homes. And sometimes you think about that, your heart breaks. I mean, you see a lot of these folks that are really not mobile. And
Yeah.
you, with 101 Mobility, you're able to, again, change their lives. It's got to mean a lot to you.
It's extremely rewarding. On a personal level, it's extremely rewarding. It's not going to be for everybody. Not everybody's going to find the same reward that I do.
Yeah.
I spent 14 years in the hospice industry, and people think that that was depressing. It wasn't. You saw the best of people coming out at that time in people's lives. I just got burnt out, and I said there has to be a better way to live. And my mother-in-law was extremely sick at the time, and like a lot of families, she would go from home, ER, rehab, home.
Yeah.
She needed a transport chair. She would need a platform, maybe a ramp, some help in the bathroom. And nobody knew how to help her. The discharge planners, social workers, nobody could help her with all of the gear that she needed.
Yep.
And my wife and I, a light bulb went off and said, there's got to be a way to help people like this.
What
So it is, yeah, go ahead.
you and I talked a little bit about this the other day. That one of the things that as you talk about this, your supplier base has to be really strong, doesn't it? I mean, you've got to go out there and find manufacturers or distributors of equipment that you really rely on and trust. And when you look at the sort of the creativity, Rick, of walking into someone's home or looking at their vehicle, let's say, you've got to be able to think about all the things that they're going to need to get them to the state where they're really mobile, right?
Right. And a lot of times we have to prioritize what's more important. Their vehicle, getting in and out of bed, getting to and from the washroom. What's the most important thing for them? But you're absolutely right. And that's one of the things that 101 Mobility does fantastic for us as local owners. They vet these manufacturers. They go through a pretty rigorous vetting process. It's not just, do you have a great product, but do you have support for your product? Is this support North American based? Because we need somebody who's going to be able to help if there's an electronic malfunction somewhere, maybe help our techs out in the field fix it now because we can't wait a week. These people can't wait a week to get out of bed.
Exactly.
We need to be able to fix it. So 101 Mobility does a great job in vetting our manufacturers and have a great distribution line for those products.
Rick, how do you find new clients? Where do they come from? Is it word of mouth now, or do you have a network of people that you're going out to? What's the game plan for your sales and marketing effort for 101 Mobility?
Great question. It changes. It changes a lot. Just as the world has changed in the past couple of years, I used to be able to walk into a facility, whether it be a hospital or a rehab facility, and say, I'd like to talk to your social workers, your discharge planners, and tell them all the great things we do for people in our community. Lockdowns changed all of that. And I don't blame the hospitals and nursing homes for not wanting us to come in there. So we're relying a lot on the internet right now. We get some leads from manufacturers, but most of it is through our internet based or I have a couple of networks that I work with now, Continuity of Care and Competitors Lunch. And they're local networks of people in the community that do similar things to what we do. They may be hospital based, they may be rehab based, they may be home health, and we exchange referrals. It's a trusting network of people. I'd rather give a referral to somebody I know than somebody I don't. So it's nice to have these groups of people in our community that feel the same way and say, I'm going to give you my patient, be good to them. And yeah, I will. Believe me, because some days I'm going to give you my patient or my family, and you're going to take care of them.
Yeah. What are the best referrals for 101 Mobility? I mean, is it, sometimes I think that physicians could be a good referral for you, or, people that are in home health care where they're seeing that this person is not, as mobile as they could be. My next door neighbor's his dad lives in Brooklyn, New York, and he never comes out of his apartment. And he is mobile. When he comes over to see my neighbors, he's fine. He's walking around in the backyard and everything else. But he lives on the third floor of an apartment in Brooklyn, New York, and he's not able to traverse the staircase, Rick. It just breaks my heart that when I see him, he's so energetic, but to stay in the home all day long and not, get outside is just, it's got to be difficult for people.
It is, and it takes away all of your freedom and part of your dignity if you're stuck in one place.
Yeah.
Dignity is a huge thing for our freedom and independence. So, Mark, that's a great example. And different cities have different codes, different states have different codes as to what may or may not be Americans with Disability Act compliant.
Yeah.
So it just really depends, and we need to work with the municipality to make sure that our solution is going to be ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act compliant.
Yeah. Rick, talk about, you mentioned a couple things earlier. So, it's mobile transport in terms of vehicles, inside the homes, chair lifts, outdoor chair lifts. Talk a little bit about the breadth of the products that 101 Mobility offers. I know there's lots and lots of them, but
a lot of them.
There's tons of them, I'm sure. But talk a little bit about that for a minute.
And I hope I don't forget anything here. I will say to people that I meet, I'll install anything from a grab bar to an elevator as long as it's legal, ethical, and moral. So we can start with something as simple as a grab bar.
Okay.
We've done a number of grab bars for the senior services of Will County, a county where we're based, just outside Chicago. And that may lead to another project with another family, a stair lift or a ramp, an outdoor vertical platform lift. an overhead lift in which the person would sit in a sling and the motor would lift them up out of bed, and you can physically move that sling with very little effort and lower that person into a wheelchair or a scooter. We offer vehicle lifts. So we won't cut the bottom of a van out and drop the floor, but we will install a lift, kind of like a crane that will drop and pick up
Yep.
a scooter or a wheelchair or a platform on the back of a vehicle. Um, we've installed residential elevators, um, incline platform lifts, which is a platform that rides a rail that goes up and down stairs. So we've helped businesses, churches, multiple families, lots of residential work. And it's, like I said earlier, Mark, it's extremely rewarding to do this.
Yeah. We work with the Kessler Foundation in New Jersey. They sponsor one of our other programs that I'm a host on, and the work that they do in terms of research for spinal cord injury or traumatic brain injury is just remarkable. And I wonder if there's a possible connection between 101 Mobility and those folks, because there's look, they're not always in that state. They're sometimes what you do, Rick, enables someone to move to the next level, and they become more mobile as a result of the work that you and 101 Mobility do. So I want to touch on that after the break, but we have to take a quick commercial break here, Rick, and when we come back, we'll talk more about that because I think that's really something that is in a sense uplifting for folks. They're not going to be there forever. So folks, don't go away. We'll be right back with more from Rick Kasper and 101 Mobility after this message from our sponsors.
Hi, I'm Bob Hochgertel from Kings Road Brewing Company. I'm here to tell you about a brand new show on RVN television called Cooking with the King. Each week, we're going to taste and sample some of the best beers the Kings Road Brewing Company has to offer. And we're going to talk to area chefs and restaurant owners as we pair our beer with their signature dishes. We're going to teach you how to cook and eat like a king. Cheers.
A stroke can be easy to detect. A loved one can't speak, perhaps they can't move. But there's another sign of a stroke that many of us can't see. It's called spatial neglect, and it can occur during or after a stroke, causing distorted visual movements. Fortunately, there's a solution by using optical prism technology during rehabilitation. If you or a loved one have experienced a stroke, ask your doctor about spatial neglect. Spatial neglect. See the whole picture at KesslerFoundation.org.
Are you burned out?
Welcome back to Rainmakers Roundup. I am your host, Mark Iorio. I've got Rick Kasper on today with me. Rick is the president and owner of 101 Mobility. And that commercial there that you saw, the Kessler Foundation, we were just talking about that right before the break. Rick, the work that they do, the work that you do, it's not always permanent. I mean, these sometimes what you do for folks is temporary. You're able to get them mobile, and then they progress to another level. That has got to be one of the most gratifying things you've ever witnessed.
It truly is. It's wonderful. We work with a large hospital here called Shirley Ryan Abilities Lab. It used to be the Rehab Institute of Chicago. Now it's Shirley Ryan Abilities Lab. And one of the things I missed before the break was pool lifts. So we will install a lift outside of the pool to help somebody get into the pool. Probably everybody's seen those at a hotel.
Yeah.
And they work their people. And we are on their referral list, and we get a lot of referrals from Shirley Ryan. Thank you. And like you said, it's so fantastic when we get a call saying, I'm done with it. I graduated. I don't need this ramp. I don't need this stair lift. I can walk on my own. And it's so rewarding, that we get that call. And so it's not quite the Kessler Foundation, but it's our little corner of the world
Right.
where this person is, they're not Superman, but they're going to be back to where they were living independently. And that's great feeling, like you said, Mark.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. So the future of 101 mobility, Rick, how do you see it growing? And I'm assuming you're still working with your wife, right?
I am, but my wife is too smart to work with me at 101 Mobility. Yeah.
So how do you see 101 mobility growing? What does that look like for the future?
So it's more of an outreach. As you've probably seen in your neck of the woods, hospital systems are merging. They're becoming bigger and larger. So I see us becoming a force regionally, having more, maybe we have a larger footprint to help more people on a regional basis instead of just, hey, I've got, my little county here that I'm helping. I can now say, I work with a woman, Donna in Milwaukee or Jeff in Indiana, John, and say, you like my service, you'll love John in Indianapolis. It's fantastic what these guys can do. And we will have regional players and we can answer those solutions for them.
That's great.
Yeah.
I like that because, once you start to think outside the box and you have people like Jeff and some of the others that you mentioned, you can run ideas past them because you're just, you're one company. And as an entrepreneur, Rick, you're one person unless you have others to bounce ideas off of. This is the thing that can help grow that business and grow the industry and, make it more accessible, make, going to the supermarket more accessible, going into their pool, or even something as simple as getting out of their bed and,
Absolutely.
Right?
Taking a shower. I mean, there's one thing to get a bed bath, but it's another thing to have a shower in your own home. When you're sick, you don't want to be somewhere else. You want to be home.
Absolutely. Rick,
Yeah.
think back, if you will, over your career. Would you change anything that you learned or anything that you've done to get you to the point where you started 101 Mobility several years back?
You know what? I would have started earlier. Looking back, I was afraid to make that change,
Yeah,
but it's such a rewarding industry, and such rewarding work. I would have started earlier. Um, there's so many families out here that need our help, and it's wonderful feeling to come home at night saying, "Oh, I just changed somebody's life." Times do you go to work in the morning and come home at night and say, okay, I did this or I did that, but we change people's lives.
yeah,
And not everybody's going to be happy with us. I'm not going to lie to you or anything. There's some things that we do that people don't like, and we've got to get the equipment out of their house because they hate the way it looks, and
yeah.
that's part of it. But it's on the most part, we're changing lives, which is what you said earlier, Mark, and it's wonderful to put your head down at night knowing that.
Yeah. A lot of entrepreneurs say that, Rick. They say that they would have started their business earlier, or, they wish they had started it earlier because they're so happy with where they are. And, it's really, to me, it's gratifying to talk to someone like you who, I've been doing this for almost 6 years. Talk to people that are doing something that changes the world one person at a time or one family at a time. And,
Yeah.
When you're younger, a lot of times, you're just not, like you said, Rick, you're just not ready.
You're not.
What advice
not.
would you give a younger Rick Kasper? What would you say to a younger Rick Kasper?
Follow your gut and don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. It's okay to make a mistake.
Yeah.
Learn from that mistake. Don't be afraid of it. And, it's being, like you said, an entrepreneur, you get good days and bad days. Some days where I could spend more time with my family, and other days where, 12-hour day is lunchtime. So
Yeah,
it's
right.
it's kind of crazy. Your schedule's not your own,
Yeah.
but there are many more good days than bad days. And that's the goal, is I want to have more good days and more time with my family. Otherwise, I wouldn't have pursued this.
And for the people out there, Rick, that are contemplating installing something in their homes, or they're struggling, right now, they're watching this program and they're struggling with mobility. They're struggling with getting from their car to, the supermarket, or out of their bed, or wherever it might be, or down the steps in their home or apartment. What do you
Yeah.
say? What do you say to them?
I say find 101 Mobility on the internet, and if you can, get to their showroom and give us a try. We have a showroom. We have 4 different stair lifts in our showroom.
Wow.
A custom curve lift, lifts that have rails that fold up at the bottom, so in case there's a doorway at the bottom, the rail will be out of the way. We have different brands that people can get in and try. Um, if you can get out, do it and give it a test drive.
Now, I think we talked a little bit about this too, Rick. Is this all out of pocket? Does insurance cover any of the installs that you do?
That's a great question, Mark. So we work with the state of Illinois. They have a waiver program through Medicaid.
Okay.
So some insurance companies will pay through the waiver program, most do not. Medicaid, Medicare typically do not cover anything that we do, but there's a Medicaid waiver program that does. There's also the VA, the Veterans Administration, that will cover a lot of the equipment that we install. But most of it is out of pocket. You're exactly right, Mark. It's all out of pocket. And that's why we offer those solutions like a rental or a rent to own or a purchase.
Yeah. And regionally, Rick, when you talk about Illinois and you have other relationships around the United States, let's say there is someone from New York or New Jersey or Florida or other parts of the country, and they look you up on 101 Mobility and they see the things that you can offer. How do you deal with the folks that are outside the region that you typically work in?
So 101 Mobility has a national footprint. We are a franchise of owners, and we do have several throughout the country. I think there's close to 80 locations and 62 or 63 owners right now. So we have locations in the United States, Canada, and the Caribbean right now. So we have a huge network, and I'm not shy to pick up my phone or text somebody and say, "Hey, have you dealt with this before? How do I not look like a moron in front of this family and fix this?" And vice versa. I've received calls like that saying, "Have you run across this? Yeah, here's what you do." I read a book once where an expert was called somebody who can hide their mistakes well. And is that true or not? That was this author's opinion, but it's if you can give the family confidence, and we back our labor for 1 year on all new equipment that we sell. So we're letting the families know we're going to be here for you for at least a year, where you can count on us if anything goes wrong.
See, that's great. And it's great to have that franchise, that brand behind you, Rick, because there's a power there. There's, as you said, there's 80 plus locations around the United States and Canada. And when you have that sort of power, it feels pretty darn good that you're going to deliver, and you've got that guarantee for a year's period of time, and that's a great feeling to have. Rick, where do you find, I know maybe where this is coming from, but the inspiration that you feel every day, or when you get up every day, What or who inspires you to do what you do?
You know what? My wife and daughter really, I want to be a good husband, be a good father, be a good role model for our 16-year-old daughter. Um, they inspire me a lot. I wake up early and I try to start my day, and I try to do good for the people out there. And my daughter does a lot of all of the social media things for my company. Um, and we were recently on a vacation, and she saw a lift, and she said, "Look at that lift. That lift has an 880-pound capacity. It folds down. It transforms from a stairs to." And I'm like, "Oh, you do listen to me." It was pretty rewarding that the things that I tell her, they stuck with
It's
her.
stick,
It
it's
was
sticky.
it was neat. But yeah. So my dad was a small business owner. Um, I guess I'm following in his footsteps in that respect because he worked hard 7 days a week,
Yeah.
and I don't want to follow in that trap. But some days you're out there on Saturdays and Sundays helping families.
Yep. Rick, that's great. I really do appreciate you being on Rainmakers Roundup with me today. It's an absolute pleasure, and to watch you do what you do for others and to help others the way you have, and the inspiration that you get from your wife and your daughter is pretty cool. I love hearing that. Thank you. Tell everyone how to get in touch with you and 101 Mobility, please.
So our website is 101mobility.com. My local phone number is 708-968-1250. And if you're not in my area, I will find the closest 101 Mobility for you.
All right. Rick, thanks again. We really appreciate you being here
Mark,
with
thank
us
you.
On RVN Television.
Yeah,
Folks,
appreciate your time. Thank
yes,
you.
sir. That is a wrap for Rainmakers Roundup. Check out Rick Kasper on 101mobility.com. And he's local to Illinois, but as he said, there's locations all over the United States and Canada. Folks, have a wonderful week. We'll see you next time. Be safe.